There we go. We should be online now. Let's make sure that we're live on both sides, because this happens often. Let's see. Shows we are live right now. I'll change this to just 15 after. Just because it took me a second. And bring this window back up. And we will be waiting a little bit longer just because we couldn't get YouTube up. We had to reconnect it through, so we'll wait a little bit. But let us know if you have any questions. Today we will be talking on how to make a quilt using pressure and internal lines, as well as manipulating collars. Adding a graphic, adding a rhinestone. We did have someone send us a question about how to add rhinestones and graphics. We will also be talking just shortly on pleating. We do have a YouTube video on it. And how to use Draw on Avatar to do drafting for patterns. As well, you can also ask questions, and that will change how we change the order of all the items that we're going to focus on. If the chat wants to see specific items, we will focus on those specific items. Let's see. YouTube is being a brat. Let's see. Is anyone on YouTube? Can you hear me okay? It's still broken. All right. Let's see. We're still offline. All right. YouTube, why are you doing this today? It worked fine oh, you can see us now. Oh, there it is. I don't know why that took so long. It took a solid 10 minutes for it to connect to YouTube. What time is it? There we go. Finally, YouTube's up. All right, that took a while. There we go. And I can see the chat above my head. And those of you waiting, thank you for waiting. We just got YouTube back up, so we'll let people get that notification, and then we'll start. Do you have any questions that you want to see? I know there's about maybe 3 people in so far for now. My keyboard is so loud. I keep forgetting I have this type of keyboard. So I will be speaking for those of you who are in here. I will be speaking, and then we will have Danny in the chat, and he will be answering questions there and helping me moderate. Can you hear me now? Let's make sure. I just moved it closer. And by the way, I am Megan. I am with Marvelous Designer, and I'm a 3D designer and trainer with the Marvelous Designer team. And in the chat, we have Danny. He is also with the Marvelous Designer team, and he will be helping me moderate and answer questions. And we're going to be starting at about the 20-minute mark, hopefully. YouTube just decided to not connect all the way, so it's going to take us a little bit to get everyone in. But today, the focus of this Q&A stream, we had some questions sent in via email, was we had someone asking how to add a graphic to a garment, add rhinestones or add rhinestone textures. This is something that you would generally do outside of Marvelous Designer. I know a lot of our users do, but if you want to do rhinestones in Marvelous Designer, I will be showing you how to do that. We will be doing some pleating and using the Draw on Avatar tool. And if you have other questions or other requests, we can change up that list a bit. I'll be announcing this again once we get started. Yes, this will be up to watch later for you guys. Dragon Candy. It will be on the YouTube, and I will try to start putting them on the Twitch stream as well. Here is just a link to our YouTube, to a playlist of all of our videos, but that way you can have access to our YouTube as well. Yeah, it's easier than you think. Dragon, if you want me to do those first, if you want, I can always change up the order. Alright, so let's get started then. So, I will introduce myself again. I'm Megan, and I'm with Marvelous Designer. I am a 3D designer as well as a trainer with Marvelous Designer. In the chat we have Danny. He is going to help moderate and answer questions, and he is on the business side for Marvelous Designer, so if you have any questions, let us know. During this event, we will be focusing on, we will be making like a quick quilt. I'm going to show you how to use pressure. And there's Danny. I'm going to show you how to use pressure to make a quilt. I'm going to show you how to manipulate collars, or just kind of the concept of collars. We had a few questions about how to make those. How to apply a graphic. We did have another question in our email to the community at marvelousdesigner.com requesting about how to add the graphic, as well as how to add rhinestones just in Marvelous Designer, because I know people do that outside of Marvelous Designer. And I will be touching on how to do pleating and how to draw on the avatar to create your own patterns. So if you have a non-human avatar, I'm going to show you how to do that. So I think Dragon Candy wanted to see how to add a graphic, so let's go ahead and do that first. Just because you're the first one chatting. So I'm going to order that around. Let's see. We do also have an event, by the way, before I get started. We do have, it's not public. How do I change that? Hold on. I'm going to show you how to do that first, but I don't know why YouTube is broken. Why is YouTube broken just this time? Public, there we go. Save. Can we see it now? Because I want to touch on those things, but I also want people to see this. Sorry about that. We've never had issues before, but this time it chose to be problematic. Don't make me do, okay. Fine. Do it another way. Finally live, and it's public. Yeah, sorry about that, Dragon. We haven't had an issue with YouTube before, but now it's suddenly making the video not live. And a lot of our viewers tend to be from YouTube, so we do want to make sure to help cater to them as well. Because our Twitch channel's, like, new. Let's give him 5 more minutes, and then I'll do... Which one did you want to see first, Dragon? Did you want to see graphic, or did you want to see me add a rhinestone to it? Oh, okay, that's fine then. Also, let us know. Let me shoot you the email if you want to send us questions that you want to see us do live. If you're leaving soon. That is not the right one. Didn't mean to send that one. Where is it? Control C instead of, there we go. That's the one. Send us an email if you want to see more, to send us specific questions. You can also join our Discord. Here's a Discord invite. That's me copying and pasting them all. Just want to know how to add stitches without them being 3D and added polygons. Well, because stitching is basically welding. So it's just being mindful of your topology. We have the retopology tool. I can show you. Oh, I lost it. I mean, you can always merge them. You can merge your seams, but you remember you're also working with like basically a flat garment, so you're basically going to have seams. Like your side seams, like I wore the wrong dress, like the raglan seams. You're working with something flat. Yeah, like Danny says, we really only support 3D stitching. There's some workarounds, but it's not really. Yeah. Yeah, you can always try. There's a lot of different stuff you can do to force it. But it's really like, since it's not meant for that, you're gonna, like you said, you're gonna have to cheese it. To make it work for you. At least YouTube's finally up. Not in this Q&A. Now it's a question for Danny. Yeah, actually that's exactly what I'm doing. I'll be bringing in a PNG of a like Nike type geometric print. You can just overlay it. You can also use that same method to apply lace. So if you have like a lace texture that you've taken a photo of, and you can even like pull it out yourself, if you do enough cleanup work, you can just use it as lace, even though it's just a flat texture, and it'll still be good morning. All right, it is now the top of the hour of the half hour. So we had some YouTube problems because it wouldn't connect today. But my name is Megan. I am with Marvelous Designer, and I am a 3D designer and trainer with the Marvelous Designer team. In the chat, we have Danny. He will be helping me answer questions and moderate and get some questions to me if I miss them. Today in this Q&A, we had some questions submitted, so we will be working on making a quick quilt or just kind of utilizing pressure and internal lines. We had some questions about how to modify collars, and we had a question that we were talking about earlier with Dragon with how to apply graphics. Someone also sent in a question to us about how to apply rhinestones and just work in Marvelous Designer to apply rhinestones, and I'll show you how to do that quite easily. And I will be showing you how to do quick pleating, as well as using the draw on avatar tool, or the actual term for it is the line avatar tool instead of the line garment tool, to draw and create your own patterns. I'm already missing the texts here. Also, we do have a contest coming up as well. Let me link that in the chat. It has launched on the 7th, but it is with Crytek, and you can create your own hunter. And there are a bunch of big prizes. The event ends, the contest ends September 15th. And we can touch on that as well a little bit more at the end of the stream. All right, so let's get started. So first of all, the first question we had in the chat was that Dragon wanted to see how to apply graphics. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring in an avatar. I'm double clicking her to bring her into the workspace. And I'm going to close the library tab and open the modular configurator tab, just because I'm just going to bring in a generic shirt. So I'm choosing women, t-shirts, and I'm choosing drop shoulder. And I'm just going to select a shirt that I want. I'll choose a v-neck. Move it a little bit. Long sleeve. And I didn't move her pose, which you should put them in the attention pose, but it's easy to fix by going to the display options in the 3D window and turning on arrangement points. I can just place those on her, and spacebar to simulate. Okay. Just for cleanup of my 2D space, or my 2D window, I'm removing the modular relationship, just because I don't need to make any adjustments to this. And I'm going to merge the center front of this shirt like it normally would be. So for a graphic, it is up here in the 3D window. You can see these little icons for a shirt or fabric. You can also see them in the 2D window. Yes, Dragon Candy, there is a way to add your own arrangement points. I can show you how to do that if you would like. But for graphic application, you can just select the shirt icon. Let me go to my files. So I'm going to go to Apply Graphic. I have this PNG, and I'm just going to click on my shirt. It is ginormous, so I can change its size if I want. And I can bring it in. And because it is a PNG and it's transparent on the back, I can change the color of the shirt. Bring it in. There we go. And you can see here that I have the graphic applied. And I can do this with logos, you can do this with a picture that you've taken of lace, and just so long as the background is transparent, you can do this. All right, let me read these questions here. So I'm just going to do it again just so you can see it. I've chosen the graphic option. I'll do it in the 2D window. The graphic 2D pattern. And I don't know why I've named it this, but PNG file. It is transparent. And I'm just going to click where I want it to be placed. Now it is a very large image, so you can see the red box. So I can make it smaller to 400. And I can just place it where I want on the shirt. And it moves. So I can move on, but I'll show you how arrangement points work. So in the 3D window, I can choose the avatar and I can turn on arrangement points or the bounding volumes. So arrangement points are attached to bounding volumes. So you can apply your bounding volume like this. So I can delete the head, or I can at least just show you one of them. And this is the bounding volume, and you can see here that the arrangement points are on the bounding volumes themselves. So if you want to create your own arrangement points, you would be also creating bounding volumes by going up to Avatar, Avatar Editor, Arrangement, and you can go to bounding volume and you do plus. And I have one bounding volume here. And I can place it where I want it to be. Make its height, maybe 50. And its radius 500. No. Let's do 250. And as you can see, I'm fiddling with it. 100. And I can move this upwards, like if I wanted to specifically wrap something around her eyes, let's just say. Why? I don't know. But let's just do that. Wraps around the eyes, check the back side of the head. It's going through the head, so I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Just for conversation's sake, we're going to leave it. Say that this fits. And then after this, I can then add points to my bounding volumes in the point option here. Let's see. Adding it to pan, and you can see here. So I'm going to do that one more time. So I can add a new arrangement point, have it be not assigned. I can assign it to the bounding volume, and I can put it to pan, and then I can change its axis on the X and the Y of this bounding volume, as well as I can adjust the offset. So I can pull it out, but generally you want to keep it on your bounding volume. And you can also change the wrap direction to down or up. You can do that with all of them, but if you do have a humanoid, if you put them in an A pose, like this avatar is, here I'll show you. If you have human shape, you can easily do that. Let me just close it, reopen it, just because I adjusted all my bounding volumes. And I have a random avatar from Mixamo that I can bring in. So long as it has a skeleton, and if it's human shape, you can use the refresh button to apply the bounding volumes. So I'm going to import FBX. Go to my stream files. Centimeters. Who did I pick? Alright, so I've got this mannequin. I do need to put him in an A pose. I just didn't save him as an A pose. And then I can go up to, turn that off, I can go up to Avatar, Avatar Editor, Arrangement, and I can just refresh. And it'll snap pretty close to the avatar you have. And you can make adjustments from here if that's helpful. Questions? Okay. And then the other super easy question, let me bring in another avatar again, is we did have someone ask about how to work with rhinestones. I know a lot of you do it outside of Marvelous Designer, but if you wanted to add rhinestones, it's pretty simple. Just give him a shirt. Yeah, I know. And I'm just going to merge these center front pieces. Just because I like them merged in center front. Yeah, have a good night, dragon. So for rhinestones, we had a question to our email about rhinestones. So I have created a rhinestone OBJ, so you can easily bring them in as a button and have custom rhinestone bling effect if you want to do that exclusively in Marvelous Designer. So I'm just going to my button, I'm going to the shape of the button, and there's a little plus symbol here. I'm clicking the plus, and I'm going to select the OBJ. I have my rhinestone OBJ, and you have to pick a thumbnail, so I'm just going to pick a random. I'm selecting OK. I've registered it as a button, and I can now apply my button in 3D or in 2D. And let's change the color of the button to red just so we can see it. And so this is my little rhinestone. It's kind of matte just because this material selected is fabric matte. But to get a shiny look, you can go all the way down to plastic if you want a bling effect. And you can also change the opacity. You can also choose glass. But I want the opacity to be a little bit more. It's really ugly because I just sliced it. Like, don't come for me. But you can easily use metal to create that effect. And with your buttons, you can always change the size. So I can make it 10 millimeters and it's all small. And that is a very simple way to have rhinestone or have a bling effect. And you can do it manually so that you have complete control over where these buttons are going to be placed. Much like how you would actually do with a real rhinestone. Now, as you can see here, the placement of my rhinestone is a little bit difficult. The reason is my mesh is very large. So just keep in mind the size of your mesh. Thank you, Strange Games. Feel free to send us some questions if you want to see more, if you want to see them answered on our live stream, as well as you can join our Discord. Let me just copy paste. That's the email for if you want. Okay, weird. Let's make sure we're live again. Okay. Are we back? I think I just had a brownout in Los Angeles. That was weird. All right, I'm back. Okay, sorry about that, everybody. All right. So that is how to apply a rhinestone. You can do this with any kind of gemstone shape. Just be aware that you are bringing in very small, very complex shapes in this way. You can do it with just a curve or a domed half circle, and then you can apply the effect elsewhere if you want, but I just chose a rhinestone shape here. So let's go ahead and not do that one. I'm just going to delete all of these, and I'm going to show you guys how to use pressure to make a quilt. I'm going to delete my avatar. Put that back. Okay. Sorry about that, everyone. I had a bit of a... I lost connection there for a second. Hello! So, I will show you how to make a quilt. I'm actually going to close... I'm just going to open a project that exists. No. Stream files, and I just have a bed frame here. And in the chat, how many people know how to use pressure? Because I can create a quilt with this very easily. You can also use pressure to make a puff jacket. So in this case, I'm just going to be making a quilt. So I'm just going to draw a rectangle first. And turn it in 3D. The other way. And I'm just going to place it over my little bed here, making it longer on the sides and on the bottom. And I'm going to spacebar to simulate. So here's just a super basic sheet. That's 20 particle distance. Now to start with pressure. So I'm going to create a very simple quilt. And to do that, I'm using pressure and internal lines. And I'm going to also clone using layer clone over or under, whichever one you want, doesn't really matter. Just remember which one is over and which one is under. So I've selected over, and I'm placing it above in my 2D workspace, just so that I remember that this one is the upper layer and this one is the lower layer, because they will have different values for pressure. So we'll have positive and negative values. So I'm going to have a positive 10 on the upper and a negative 10 on the lower. And if I simulate that right now, it creates a balloon, a big pillow just on the bed. Because it is very strong. I probably should. We'll make it 5. Negative 5, positive 5, a little less. But let's see. Isn't it beautiful? We're done. This is exactly how you make a comforter. This is how comforters work in real life. No, it's not. But that's very simply how you make a pillow. but I'm just going to do a square comforter, just parallel intersecting lines. So I'm going to choose this option called offset as internal line along a curve. So this allows me to have multiple offsets inside, evenly spaced. So I'm going to have 8, select OK. And because I've done it this way, I just have to sew them all together. This is the hard way. The easy way to do this is if you create all your lines first and then you do your layer clone after that. And it's immediately deflated. So I'm going to do the same with the upper and lower. Offset as internal line along a curve. And I'm going to do 8 as well. Select OK. And the same thing. Again, this is the hard way. Just do your internal design lines first. And see, now it's very flat. So here is where you would be playing with your pressure a little bit more. So let's see how that positive 10 looks. Turning off simulation. 10 and negative 10. And we'll have a little bit more puffing. And I'm going to bring down the particle distance to simulate as well. And let's bring in a fabric. Going to my library, choosing my fabric. Let's choose polyester or not chiffon. We'll choose silk. So we'll choose satin, just because this will be fancy. And I'm going to change the color by double clicking on the object browser and going down to color. I'll make this a little bit of a gray. Simulate again. And there's the start. Fill, settle down. To a quilt. You can also play with this and add elastic just to get more wrinkles. An easy way to select all of your internal lines is to right click, lock all pattern outlines, and then you can select those internal lines and put elastic on, not while you're simulating. Oh well. Lock all pattern outlines again, and I'll just, oh, I did the wrong one. Unlock internal lines, there we go. Elastic, but we'll make it at like 95. There we go. We'll just have it be a little cattywampus. And I can turn on my outlines again. Now you can have more wrinkles if you want. You can also lower the particle distance of this down to 5. Just be aware that's going to slow it down. But it looks way better as soon as I make it 5. As you can see here. And that's just utilizing pressure to make a very simple quilt. Yeah, it's nice. Even I tend to forget that it's there. And there we have our simple quilt. You can always use different materials. You can use cotton, and it will drape a little bit differently. So that is how to make a quilt. Let's go ahead and open a new file. New, no. And delete my avatar because I don't need it anymore. So next I'm going to show you guys, someone had a question on how to manipulate collars. So I'm just going to bring in a normal human avatar. I'll do Grace. And I'm going to use Modular Configurator. So this is the modular mode. These are where a bunch of the pattern blocks are. These are free and they come with Marvelous Designer. I'm double clicking women because these are the women's blocks. We have jackets, polos, shirts, t-shirts. You saw me bring in a t-shirt. This time I'm going to be bringing in a normal shirt. So this is going to be a button-up with a collar. And I'm just selecting them. You have multiple options. And I'm just selecting all of this. And I'm going to simulate to have it settle on her. Now I can move her to the A pose as well. Going to Library, Avatar, going to Pose. I'm sorry, not A pose, the Attention pose. Pose and joint transition. And now she's moving her arms down to her sides and the fabric is simulating along with her. Which is important if you are wanting to use modular mode or if you want to actually move their arms. Do everything with simulation on. So then I will just bring in those other shirt options for the sleeves. Selecting them. And simulating. Oops, I didn't do that with this one. Reset. 3D arrangement. There we go. Or you do it right the first time. There. Place it properly on her arm. Do as I say, not as I do. There we go. Alright, so we've got a blouse on her. Which doesn't even matter because we're only focusing on the collar. But that's what happens if you want to use Modular Configurator. And if you want to remove these boxes, these are indicating that these all have a modular relationship. So you right-click in the 2D window and you can choose Remove Modular Relationship. Modular frames will be deleted. Yes. So people had questions about collars. You can easily draft a collar. In fact, let me bring up an image of simple patterning for a collar. So this is a basic collar and you just measure. Let me just do this one. So you measure the neck and you have the measurements here and then you just I can share this file with you. There's a lot of math to this, so I recommend just using the modular collars. But you basically have your roll line, which is evident here on this collar. This is the roll line. It's showing where it's rolling. The fabric itself is rolling. And then when your collar lays down, you can, this is called slash and spread. So you can slash it to have it fit, which is what I'm going to be doing when I make some adjustments. Because what I'm going to do is I want to have multiple collars on this shirt. So what I'm going to do is just Control-C, Control-V. Just make it the hard way. And I'm going to sew the collar using free sewing to Are you asking about all caps? Are you asking about how to use the bounding volumes? Or like how I did with the sleeves? I can show you how to wrap it. It's pretty simple. We're just going to let this settle. And then I'm going to freeze the rest of the shirt using Control K, which is the shortcut. So what I want is to have the lower one a little bit longer. So I've sewn it, I've created that sewing relationship. All I have to do is just move the points. You can be asymmetrical about it if you want. Simulate. And you can see how it lays differently, one side versus the other. Let me hide this one. Right click, hide pattern, or Shift Q. I could have cloned if I wanted, but watch what happens if I clone. If I layer clone, it creates a sewing relationship. So then I would have to remove remove that sewing relationship. See these lines, how they're a little bit highlighted and there's a green line connecting them? I would have to layer clone, and then I would have to remove linked editing. So in this case, it's a little easier just to do copy paste, just because I'm making changes to it. So simulating this again, so we see we have our adjusted collar. Let me bring this one back. I can select it and use Shift Q. And so because of what is called in the sewing industry or in the apparel, it's called turn of cloth, I'm going to freeze this and I'm going to show you what's going on. So copying and pasting the exact same pattern, this upper layer has to travel more than the lower layer does. So that's why it's having difficulty laying down. As you can see here, because it's having to travel more around this collar. And you can see it's angry because I just did that. Let me turn on. So one of you had a question about wrapping around a figure. I can use arrangement points and just wrap it using the arrangement points. And I can also scroll down to arrangement, and I can choose the offset as well. But so what I'm going to do instead is just Control C, Control V. It's in the exact same arrangement, and I can just sew it directly to itself. Only because this is a little faster. So before I place it, I'm going to have it be smaller. Unfreezing because I copied a frozen object. In this case, no. I just need to unfreeze this collar. There we go. It's because it's too tight. They're trying to occupy the exact same space because they are copy pastes of each other. So this smaller collar needs to be a little bit smaller around the neck, like a hair. And taller around the back of the neck because it has more to travel around. And my roll is also going to move. My roll line. I just gotta pull it. Just not through the actual. Okay. Control H will help. And as you can see, come on. Now I can use my fold line properly. It usually settles, but today it's choosing not to because I have people watching. Well, the edit layer is not really going to work because it's both under and over. It's just because I keep pulling it through and messing with it. Most people aren't going to do collars like this anyway. And I lowered the particle distance as well. I just need to adjust where the fold line is. Just needs to be a little higher. And yeah, move the collar a little higher as well. It just needs to travel a little bit further, and you need to account for that. See, now it's less angry. And it's all of those problems were specifically caused. Andre, you're no problem. They're good questions. But see, this is what's doing it, is the roll line, which is here. This needed to be much higher because it's traveling a much further distance than the one below it. So now you can, you know, adjust your collar as you want. But that is how to do multiple collars. Someone want to do a Mandarin collar, there's a very simple collar stand itself. If you want to do a Mandarin collar, it's also simple. I'm just making this a little taller. Turning off freeze. I'm going to delete all of the buttons and buttonholes. And here we have just that overlapped taller collar stand. For a Mandarin collar, they meet in the center, so I'm just using the internal polygon tool. And I'm holding control to make a curve, letting go of control to finish, and hitting enter. And I'm going to do that on both sides. Right clicking, and I'm just going to choose cut on both sides of the new collar from the manipulated collar. Cut. And the reason that didn't work is because it is intersecting with another line, being the exterior line. So I'm just going to adjust that. Cut. Oh, it's not connected, is it? If you have those same errors, it's because you haven't finished connecting it to the edge, so I'm going to extend and trim. I'm going to redraw it. What did I do wrong? Human error, I tell you. There we go. And delete. Cut. There we go. Now these aren't perfect, but we'll simulate again, and there's a very simple Mandarin collar. Just the style of the collar. So you can use the an existing collar if it fits your avatar. You can use it and manipulate that collar. Yeah, so the reason that I was struggling earlier was because my roll line on the upper collar was not high enough. And my particle distance was at 10 and not at 5, so it was colliding with it just because they're such small pieces. That is what was causing that issue. Can happen to everybody. And then, does anyone have any more questions about collars? I can make a specific collar style if you want. Otherwise, we can move on and I can show you either how to use the Draw on Avatar tool, or I can show you how to do pleating. Which would you like to see? Alright, otherwise I'm a pick. Because I'm going to just do Draw on Avatar then. So we have our avatar here. I'm sorry. I keep saying Draw on Avatar. It's the line avatar tool. A lot of our users say Draw on Avatar. But it's the line avatar tool. This does work for any avatar you bring in, including non-human shapes. Just be aware of creating darts for the apexes. So please, how can rep? Before I don't understand your question. Are you looking for a Blender-like wrap option? Because we have, the closest you're gonna have is the line avatar tool. So I'm just going to draw on my avatar the beginning of a shirt. So in this case, you would have to unwrap it. I mean, you can wrap a cloth using bounding volumes. Let me answer your question. These are bounding volumes. Ophori. These are bounding volumes. You can use these and wrap cloth around those bounding volumes. And you can create them to match whatever shape of shape you have. Your bounding volumes are going to have, you can add them yourself manually, but your bounding volumes are going to have arrangement points. And with those arrangement points, you can apply your cloth to that bounding volume and wrap around it. For example, if it's very large, let's just make it a rectangle. I can wrap around that bounding volume, but it is locked to the bounding volume itself. Oops, I selected the bounding volume. So I can wrap it around her head. Let me turn off bounding volumes. So I can wrap it around her head if I select an arrangement point. And it wraps around like the bounding volume. But yeah, if this doesn't answer your question, send us your sample of your character or what you are trying to do. Feel free to send it to us at the community@marvelousdesigner.com. Okay. I'm going to move her back to the A pose. Now this one was instant just because she doesn't have any cloth to simulate on her during the transition. So keep that in mind. If you want to move them first without any cloth, do it first. But if you want to simulate the cloth, if you want to have cloth on the arms first and then close them, just be aware you will be simulating the steps as you go. So using the line avatar tool, I can draw directly on the avatar. Holding shift makes it a perfectly straight line. And control makes curves. So I'm going around her, holding control. You can see the curve points are red dots. Same as other tools, if I make a mistake like this, I can just hit backspace to take a step back. And here I am just creating a simple block tool, a simple bodice block, so I can have it fit her perfectly. Just realized her neck's all funny. Huh. And again, holding control to make those curve points, and then I'm closing this shape. Now, if I tried to unfold this or flatten, selecting it and hitting enter, you can see that this isn't a perfect shape. This isn't what a normal bodice block looks like. So if you were getting shapes like this and you're trying to make like a sofa or something, and you want pleats and you want it to look like a real object, you want to add darts. So darts in Marvelous Designer and in real life generally point to the apex of the shape. So in this case, it would be her bust. So I'm going to be adding another line going from the bust down, and as well from the side, just in case, to accommodate for that warp. Hitting enter to finish, or in this case, double clicking to finish. There we go. And another option that you have is if you want lines to be perfectly straight. I miss a point, can I repair it without having to draw the line again? If you want to add another point, you can just, using the edit tool, right click. So in this tool that I'm on here, the edit line avatar tool, I can right click and add a point or add a curve point. As well, I can select that point and delete it. And I'm choosing here flatten as straight line. So if you want them to be perfectly straight when they flatten, you can select those lines, right click, and choose flatten as straight line. And they are visibly a little bit darker. So you can tell which ones are going to be straight. And then if you flatten again, selecting and hit enter, now it's much closer to a real garment blouse. From here you can use this to create your shirts if you wanted. And you now see, let me unfold it just for funsies. And let's do one for the back. I'll do a quick one for the back, and I can show you that you can use this to create a basic block. So this works great for non-human avatars. Or if you just don't know how things work and you're like, I'm just going to draw it, there you go. Whichever method works best for you, go with that. Here, I'll do this. Close that shape, and then I'm going to make the back of the arm. And as you can see here, this needs to be edited. So going to that edit tool, I can lower the center back and adjust it so it fits a little bit better. Yeah, it's great. If you don't know how to actually make the shape, you can sculpt it and then you can apply the fabric afterwards. Again, if I flatten this, it's not going to be the right look. It's going to be a little bit warped, just like that first one was. So I'm going to move that out of the way just so we can use it as reference. And I'm going to use the line avatar tool again, and the shoulder generally has a dart. Let me just draw that. Double clicking to finish, and the center back does as well, because the apex or the high point of the curves of this is the back. So now that I've added those two darts, I'm going to use flatten again. And this is going to work on any shape. So long as you are accommodating those apex points, for example, like the curves of a sofa, so long as you're accommodating those curves, you'll get a better, more usable pattern. Oh, I forgot to do it this way. Then using the edit, I'm right clicking and flattening things as straight lines. Doing that to my darts, to my center back, and to the bottom. So making them straight lines is going to make it so that all of the adjustments are going to be placed in the shoulder. So if I flatten again, it is a much more usable pattern piece. So let's just unfold this, check sewing, and now I can apply sewing to my shoulders. I'm holding shift to sew one to multiple, and then the side seams. And I'm going to delete this one. We don't need it anymore. Okay. And now we have a basic blouse or basic block. Let's see. Oh, you mean as in draping. You want to do pleating. Right, Ofori? You mean like almost like a sari drape. This is the image that he sent, for those who are wondering. So yeah, you could do something like that. Let me file, new, no, delete this avatar. We'll do a guy. And I'll move his pose just so we can have more. Ofori, do you know how a sari is wrapped? Just a question. Do you know how this garment would be draped in real life, or are you asking? You know how it's draped in real life, and you want to know how to do it in CG? Don't do that. Okay, just making sure. Don't do that. Okay, that's close enough. So you can see the shadows changed a little bit. So let's take a look. I'm just going to do a rectangle. And I'm going to apply a fabric rule to it. Let's do cotton. A nicer cotton. And I'm going to hide that. Yeah, you can easily do that. It's very simple pleating, but you have to utilize the internal lines. So I did have pleating on here, so I'll show you how to do pleating with this. Offset is internal line along a curve. I'm just going to be doing a bunch of internal lines. And I'm going to turn off gravity. So you can't easily drape like you would in real life. You're going to have to apply every single one of these folds and bring those in on your garment as an internal line. So it tends to be complex. So if you want to do a lot of pleating like this, a tool to get you started is the Pleating Tool in the 2D window, Pleats Fold. I can click the direction. And if you can see here, red is out and blue is in. So I want to actually do 3. Okay, and watch what happens when I simulate. Probably shouldn't have done this big of a garment. I'll make this shorter just to get us started. See how it's folding? So you're going to want to start with just the main part of your fold, or the apex of this, which is going to be on the shoulder. I've made it go the other direction. If you make it go the wrong direction, looking here, you can easily just do the exact same thing and just choose reverse direction. And you can see it's going to readjust itself. I'm just holding it in place. And I'm just going to bring it, while simulating, onto the avatar. Right now gravity is off, so I'm right-clicking in the 3D window, going to simulation, and making gravity back on again, so it's at -9800, hitting enter, and making this unstiffening it basically, turning stiff off with Control H. So now I have a very simple version of this main portion wrapped over his shoulder. So now I can do a few things. I can actually just copy and paste this, or I can extend it, but I'm going to copy and paste it just because it'll make my life a little bit easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to freeze this with Control K, Control C, Control V. Now I have another version of this. And unfreeze, H, and I'm turning gravity back off again, because gravity and pleating is always going to struggle. So what I'm going to do is sew this to the hem again. It's literally a copy. And what I'm going to do is right click, and because it has a sewing relationship, I can do superimpose over, under, and side. So I'm going to choose side, and it's going to be on the bottom now. So the reason I did it this way, hello, welcome. The reason I did it this way is so that I have this portion up here frozen. With the new version 9.5, you can do partial freeze. So I'm going to turn this off. I am going to use the select mesh brush. And I'm just going to select his upper shoulder where I don't want it to move, and I'll just confirm that in my 2D window. I can right click and I'm going to choose freeze. So this is partial freeze. This is available only in 9.5. So if I simulate now this part is the only one that's frozen, and I can properly drape this around Oh. Oop. Turning that off. I can properly drape this around the avatar. Now let me turn gravity back on. Gravity on, gravity off. That it makes your workflow a little bit easier. Yeah, slick freeze is great. So you can do this by hand or while it's simulating, but you can also use the pin box tool. So I'm long pressing that select mesh option and I have the pin box or the pin lasso. So I'm just gonna lasso this little corner just so I know where it is. And simulate. And now I have this floating pin. So you can use this to adjust it. I can even move it around. Collide with your avatar if you want. Don't do that. And if I want single pins, I can zoom in, holding W, I can create a single pin, as you can see. So I can adjust this for fit, since I'm just draping this for the first time. I can adjust it, move it around. I can re-strengthen this to see how the pleat looks. And you really just got to play with it. Like in real life, if you were draping this on a person, but one-handed. That's what's gonna basically happen. And this would obviously be wider. But oh, Fori, does that answer your question about draping? Because you can also just pin this. Like, let's just say this looked acceptable. You can also pin this directly to the avatar. And you can also pin fabric to itself as well. So let me show you the Tack Tool. So if I liked where this was and I wanted these to attach to each other, I know they're not going to attach to each other. Let me delete my pin and simulate. You just pull it down and you play with it. But you can use pins like you would in real life. And let's unstrengthen this and let it fall. And this is still 20, so let's make this 10 particle distance. And really, the main thing is that you're just going to have to play with it. It's not, it's close to real fabric. It's close to real fabric as we're going to get. But you're going to have to shape it yourself in Marvelous Designer. You can also, if this is too soft, you can use different fabric presets. I'm just using a cotton sateen, which is pretty soft. Let's see if I have a stiffer material. Let's see if Oxford cotton's going to do anything. If it doesn't, I can always go down to bond. So that's basically applying interfacing. So now while that's settling down, so that was the tack, which is cloth to cloth, but you can also use tack on avatar. So while that's simulating, settle down because it's 5 particle distance, so it's simulating a lot. if you didn't want this to be permanently frozen anymore, you can use tack on avatar, which is the exact same thing as you saw with the tack with fabric. This one just does it to your avatar. So it would stay on his arm, let's just say. And then you would turn off the mesh. And I would just delete it. And it stays tacked on the avatar's arm. So, Bond, Andre, do you have a men's collared shirt? Do you have a shirt with a collar on it? You know how that collar is really stiff? That would be what that's bonded interfacing. So down at the bottom we have bond and skive. So bond is interfacing, so you have two presets. We have fusible, rigid, and heavyweight. So that basically pretends that you've glued another layer of fabric to it. So it makes it a little bit stiffer. Just like a shirt collar would be for a men's dress shirt, or the lapel of a jacket. That's where that fusible interfacing is going to be placed. So we also have skive. So skive is from a leather working term of making the leather thinner. So you would skive off the edges of your leather and then you would sew through it. So, Ofori, do you have any other questions about draping using pleating and internal lines? Because you can. You just have to, you're going to have to do more than, my 20 minutes to get it to drape appropriately. You can try to do it normally, as you can see here, but you would do it at 5 particle distance and it would take you a while to drape it. So think of the internal lines as every single place you want those pleats to be. You can also adjust them. So let's just say you wanted this. Let's just say you wanted one of these lines to be higher. Or you wanted the curve to be deeper. You can move this internal line, let's just say. I'm using my little blued ghost here to select the line so I know which one I'm looking at. And I can use the Edit Pattern tool to adjust it or curve it. And I can just add more of a curve to it. You're just going to have to play with it and pretty much sculpt your cloth in place. So that is the last question on pleating. I hope that answered your question, Ofori. You're just going to have to make every single one an internal line and apply a fold angle to that. And that's how you're going to get the looks that you specifically want. But definitely use the pleat fold tool to your advantage. So that does end it for us here. I'm going to go to this. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Let's see, we have a few last questions. Please answer my headache. How would I load a texture onto the cloth? Yes, Ray Carpet, you did. But this will be up again. We also have another tutorial. Let me link it. Here's a playlist, and the knit shirt in that playlist has how to import a graphic if you don't want to watch this live stream back again. So choose the turtleneck option. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Let me copy paste. If you have more questions and you want to see more things answered on more future live streams, here is the link to, here's our email. So send us questions that you want to see answered live, that you missed here, that you might forget later. Feel free to send it to us. Just make sure that you let us know it's for Q&A. Yeah, you're welcome, Red Carpet. Here is a link to our Discord server where you can talk with other users. There you can talk with other users. Everyone is from around the world, so don't be surprised if people are awake at your nighttime, but no one's awake during the daytime like you are. We also have our marvelousdesigner.com website, which I know a lot of you people... Oop. If Danny can just link the website, like we have the website there as well as the event. So we do have an event with Crytek going on right now. I'll just bring up the picture. So here is the event for the Crytek event, the Hunt Showdown. You can design a legendary outfit for a male or female character. And it just started, so make sure to work within the early 1800s to late 1800s to 1900s. Here's an example. And it did just start on the 7th, and it's going to end on the 15th. So follow the link. This is the link that Danny just posted. And you can win a lot of cool stuff. And you can install, and here are our judges. But yeah, follow the link that Danny just posted. There's a lot of big prizes, which I'm surprised by and a little jealous of. So I can't wait to see what everyone makes. Let's see. Vinay, send a request either to us in the email for the Q&A, because the event did just end. The stream did just end, but we will be doing more streams in the future. We might be making the more complex pleat-heavy tutorials, like Asari or Doti. Let's see. Pardon my pronunciation. Those might end up becoming specifically tutorials on our YouTube channel. Just because they're going to be internal line heavy and a lot of pleating, and this is kind of a, you know, let's do a quick answers kind of a thing. Very casual. So, but if you want to see it, let us know. Feel free to also join our Discord. And thank you, Danny, in the chat for answering questions that I miss. I have 3 screens, that's why I keep looking around. So yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us. We will be having another one hopefully in 2 weeks. And let us know if you have any more questions. Again, here's the email specifically for more live stream content. Yeah, Vinay, let us send us an email of what you want to see tutorial wise or just on the Q&As. Just because we try to keep them to an hour. Today we had a few issues with YouTube streaming for some reason, so it ran a little bit longer. Thank you, Euphoria. I hope we answered your questions. But yeah, you can easily do it. Just make sure to work slowly and don't work until don't go down to 5 particle distance till you're done, basically. But yeah, we are done, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Or we'll see you on the Discord channel. Thank you so much.